Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to this podcast episode of the New Earth Visionaries podcast, where we are going to unpack the topic of belonging, relationships, connections, and how the path of solitude prepares you for your true soul's tribe. This is going to be an in-depth episode, and I hope that you will get the insights that you are asking for. So, before we get started, I want to share that this common theme of isolation and solitude is not something that as a visionary is must be embraced as a trait. Okay, it's meant to be seen as a stepping stone, as a necessary step in your evolution. Okay, however, if you over identify with being the odd one out or the outsider, it is going to be it's going to become almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy from which is going to be hard to connect with others. So a shift in identity is very important, to go from the old earth way of being, the old earth mentality, the old earth's conditions, okay, external conditions that you may have had to endure, or you may have had to settle for, or you may have had to consider as a necessary part of your journey. However, shifting into this new frequency, it is important to be able to open your mind to a new way of being that is in connection, in community, in a form of tribe, in a form of social environment that supports you. Very, very important, that supports you, that is also at your level of frequency, and that really helps you be your most authentic self, be your most powerful self without having to feel like you need to change who you are, or that you need to dim your light or shrink your vision. These are very, very different relationship dynamics. These are very different connections, these soul connections that you are destined for, okay, are going to feel like such a breath of fresh air, are going to feel like such a relief. And you may already start encountering these souls, okay? If you have found this episode, that is a sign that you're definitely on the path towards meeting your soul's tribe, okay? So, in the past, you may have had to walk this path alone because the people around you, the people you grew up around, and even later on, right, you may have felt like they just cannot get the whole picture of who you are. You may have connected over surface level, shallow aspects of life. People may have just accessed a certain layer of who you are, but then they could not pierce through the layers of the identity to really see your soul, to really see you for who you really are, and to really connect on a deep level, okay, on a very deep soul level. This is the kind of tribe that I call soul tribe, okay? These are not people that will be fleeting connections, okay? Because a bond that is formed at the soul level, a bond that is just very deep, cannot be broken, okay? So The soul contract, okay, we can talk about soul contract because you may have felt certain connections that were very intense. Okay, there's a difference between deep soul connections and intense soul connections. The intense soul connections are usually past karmic lessons, are usually past life contracts that need that carries a lesson, okay, that carry a lesson that your soul has chosen to work through in this lifetime in order to evolve as a soul. Now, deep soul connections are different. They don't feel like such a push and pull. They don't feel like such, the dynamics feels very grounded. This is what I'm trying to emphasize, is the feeling behind it. It feels grounded. It feels like you're landing somewhere, okay? Past life contracts feel like there is a sense of familiarity behind it, sure. However, they don't feel stable. And there is a subconscious knowing that makes you either chase or not feel fully safe or not feel fully established in that particular relationship or connection. Okay, this can be ranging from romantic connections to friendships to business partnerships, any kind of connection where there is a particular lesson to be learned. It really doesn't matter in which area of life. Those connections, they don't feel stable because on a subconscious level you feel like they are not your right or die kind of connections, okay? So usually there are a lot of lessons, that there's a lot of wisdom that we learn from these experiences, and they come with a lot of, on a surface level we can say mistakes, regrets, just a lot of baggage and a lot of emotional turmoil. However, when the dust settles, we see things very differently, and we understand that it is because, on a very deep, deep, deep soul level, we've always known the purpose of this connection, even though our conscious selves, our ego, may have wanted it to be different, may have wanted it to become something that they were just never meant to be. So you may be really clinging on to a certain connection or a certain group, even, or a certain community, which was never meant to be for you. It was never meant to elevate you to your higher self, okay? So that phase of either feeling rejected from a community or rejected from a particular person, it was a preparation, okay, for your highest connections. These are high level soul connections, okay? And you have been tempered, you have been initiated to learn how to hold a higher frequency without the baggage of these karmic lessons, okay? So the reason behind the need for isolation, okay, which precedes belonging, it's mostly for introspection, okay? Really, really getting to know yourself on a very deep level, okay? Why? Because people can only meet you at the level you have met yourself. And if you want to meet people who are conscious, people who are aware, people who are self aware, then you must have done the work yourself as well. You see, most people that are what we consider as young souls, they come here without I don't want to say baggage, without the wisdom, the gift of wisdom that you have from previous lifetimes, from all the lessons that you have learned. And so they mostly come here as a form of entertainment. They come to experience Earth, okay, and then they draw the lessons. Well, you have learned the lessons, okay, and you are teaching now. You are at the master level. So if you were to connect with people that are at the lower level of consciousness, you may find yourself betrayed, abandoned, rejected, because they haven't yet learned the lessons that would lead them to know how to engage at that level, at the higher level, from the soul level. Because most people usually connect at the identity level, at the ego level. They haven't yet, they haven't even scratched the surface of who they really are on a multidimensional higher level, right? So higher souls and young souls are just on different paths of evolution. And you would always feel like you're the teacher. You would always feel, yeah, like you're the bigger person, right? And so you may have felt like your compassion was always drained because you had to forgive. You had to just witness the unfolding of karmic lessons that you have already mastered. And masters need masters. Okay, you need people that can resonate with you on a very deep soul level, and you need to connect with those from a place of wholeness. Okay, not codependency, not back and forth projections, not needing them to for a particular reason as a means to an end, to fill a void or to validate yourself or to prove anything. You just come from a place of wholeness and you just click, you just connect, okay, from that level, from that place. So belonging is not just about finding the right people, okay? There used to be a time in my life where I was obsessed with the idea of belonging, precisely 3 to 4 years ago. And I used to chase and I used to look at all sorts of like minded social groups, right? I was traveling a lot, I was relocating a lot. So every single time I had to renew my social environment. And it was a challenge because regardless of how much interesting, let's say, those people were, I just could not feel that deeper need for a higher level of connection. And that was because I hadn't yet become the version of me that could sustain authentic connections. Okay, I was still reaching out from a place of externally looking for those people, and I was still at the level where I was learning about myself. I was still knowing, I was still learning who I was. So it is then your frequency that attracts your tribe. And this is something that I wrote in my first book, Unboxed, okay, which is really all about getting to the core of who you really are. And this is how you can then align, just naturally align with those who are at that higher level as well, those who also have gone through the same challenges. Okay, we're back. I had to pause for a second. So coming back to the alignment conversation, you will, as long as you are in a state, in a fragmented state, in a wounded state, you will naturally attract those who are also matching that wound. Okay. And within those soul contracts, you will be called, you will have the opportunity to heal those wounds. Okay. And so, if you are, for example, abandoning yourself or certain aspects of yourself, let's say you are not in your highest calling. For whatever reason, you are delaying your purpose, you are delaying your higher path, you will attract those who won't see you fully for your potential. And you will want those people to see you more fully. But you haven't yet acknowledged those aspects of yourself, not fully, okay? And you will project that onto those around you, and it will be very challenging and very difficult to really get to a level where you can also meet your potential and maintain those relationships, maintain those connections. So there comes a point where there's going to be a choice, either yourself or to keep connecting with people who were at the lower level, with whom you were connecting at the lower level. So, when you really start living in your full truth, when you really start honoring your boundaries, your depth, your true mission, your true path, that's when your frequency shifts. And yes, that's when you shift into a period of isolation, okay, where you really focus on recognizing your own soul. And then almost magically, the right people really start finding you. Um, I never speak from a place of delusion or giving false promises. These are things that I have personally gone through, I have lived. It is a promise that is anchored in reality, okay? If you have a deep longing to have a strong bond, a strong community, then know that 100% this is destined for you. And if you may feel discouraged, mm, if you are maybe at a chapter in your life where you're still learning certain karmic lessons, where you're still engaging in connections that are just not honoring your highest path, then know that that is just a necessary step towards it, okay? Towards your highest path, towards your higher connections. And the last thing that I want to share is that just finding a community doesn't necessarily mean that you will feel connected, okay? This is really about that place that truly, truly feels like home. And pay attention, because familiarity, okay, feeling like someone is familiar, which may actually represent the reignition of your old wounds, okay, familiar is not necessarily healthy. So, familiarity and the feeling of home, soul home, is not the same, okay? So, maybe on an ego level, on an identity level, you may resonate with someone because you have already lived those patterns. You have already engaged into a dynamic that was just on the same frequency. It was something that you have already experienced, whether in this or previous lifetime. But deep, deep soul connections, it truly feel like the soul is lending. Okay, it feels like an exhale. Truly feels like an exhale. And it is first through anchoring your own energy and being anchored and grounded in your own energy that you are going to be able to feel safe around those who also do so. And you will not have to shape shift, you will not have to change who you are to belong. Your soul tribe is not just the people who you feel comfortable with on a deep soul level, on a higher level, who don't ask you to be less or who don't put you in some sort of power dynamics of competition or anything like that. They will not just accept you for who you are, with all your weirdness, with all your quirks, with all your authenticity, but they will encourage you and they will reveal even deeper aspects of who you are that you were previously not aware of, okay? So, this is just one of the biggest blessings that we came to experience as visionary souls. And although the period of isolation and solitude was really intense and really challenging, and I speak from experience, truly, truly so um, heartbreaking, okay? It is a period of calibration. It was a period of reconnection with yourself so that you become very, very intimate with your own soul. And as a result, you then get to experience connections at the higher level, at the very high level. And this is really one of those, the, this lifetime is very unique because we truly get to experience that on a much bigger level, okay? Um, we truly get to enjoy life on planet Earth and enjoy the sense of community, because in the past we may have always been in places that where our true self was not allowed, okay, where our true self was not honored, and in fact it may have been quite challenging for us to really show up fully in our full power, in our full energy, in our true authenticity. So, if this message resonated, then I would love to hear from you. What is your biggest insight from today? Are you resonating with feeling this pull towards your soul tribe, towards a deeper connection? What has solitude taught you about yourself? If you feel comfortable sharing that, I would love to hear from you. And until next time, stay true to your path.